G'day guys and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another 2020 NRL season review. Today we're going to be speaking about the 10th place New Zealand Warriors. Before I get into this video, I've been making jokes about a lot of teams. I just can't make one for these guys. It was really good to have football back in the 2020 season. It was a very tough year for everyone. No tougher than these guys, and this season may not have gone ahead if it wasn't for the sacrifices made for this club. The captainship, the mateship, everything. Players went back home, which was respectable in their own opinions when they got the opportunity to do so. They had a massive year. You know what? In my opinion, they didn't make the 8. They had a successful year. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank the New Zealand Warriors for what they did for rugby league and for themselves in 2020.
Subscribe to Entertainer.
Now, I really wasn't expecting much from the New Zealand Warriors in 2020, so when they did go 0-2, I wasn't in complete and utter shock. A 20-0 loss to the Knights at home. I guess we all expected the Knights mostly to win this game. Don't forget that the Warriors after this game were actually told that they will not be returning to New Zealand. That must have been heartbreaking for them. So they went into a home game at Cbus Super Stadium against the Canberra Raiders. Raiders coming away 20-6 winners. I might be wrong, but from memory, I think the Warriors were competitive. I could be wrong. It could have been Raiders and Titans, and the Titans were competitive. But then in week 3, 18-0, Central Coast Stadium, their new home ground against the St. George Illawarra Dragons in the season restart. What a performance, the best completion rate in the NRL. What a start to what we saw. Now, I was really confused that the next following week they lost to the Panthers 26-0, struggling to score point for the second time this season. They finally got a win over the Cowboys, 37 points to 26 in a game that had absolutely no defence, high scoring, not really entertaining in my opinion. And then they played the Rabbitohs, 40 points to 12, and then they were thumped. And I'm talking thumped at Jubilee Oval. This was considered as a home game for the Storm, 50-6. They went into the sheds. They said, "Hey boys, it's okay. You're here. We support you." And look, I respect to Cameron Smith and Craig Bellamy for going in the sheds. I just don't know if it was right. But the Warriors back to winning form over the Broncos at Central Coast Stadium, 26-16. Following this, a close loss to the Gold Coast Titans, 16 points to 12, and then thumped by the Sharks at Central Coast for the first time in 2020, 46 points to 10. It was getting a little bit worrying for the Warriors. They had a very close contest in a quite an entertaining game at Central Coast Stadium against the Sydney Roosters. I remember doing a live stream to this game and the Warriors scored first. They were definitely right in it, but the Roosters came away with the chocolate. This is also the last game that Kemba Marlowe, David Fusatua, and there was one other player who I'm forgetting off the top of my head, departed with the club to go back home. So it would have been interesting if they continued to play on what we would have seen. Then a very tight game with the Tigers winning that one and beating Manly 26 points to 22. But during this period, it was really hard to get a complete and utter read on this team, and the loss of players was going to be huge. And after that close encounter with the Panthers, they got back to their winning way. They beat the Bulldogs 20-14. This game here was just a sum up of their season and how good things were this year for the Warriors. Even though they were inconsistent, 36 points to 6 over the Newcastle Knights, a massive upset as the Knights were still in the top 8 and obviously finished in the top 8. A very close contest with the Eels coming away with a 24-18 loss. Very good game. Really enjoyed attending it. One of my favourite games of the year to attend. I thought it was a really good game. And then they played the Sharks, and this game was to get them inside the top 8. Unfortunately for the Warriors, their top 8 ends came to a close with a 22-14. Would have been really interesting if Ken Mamalo, David Fusatua, those experienced players actually played. I arguably think that the Warriors might have actually made the 8 and knocked the Sharks out, but unpopular opinion there before finishing the season with a loss to the Raiders and beating Manly 40 points to 28 at the Central Coast, their home stadium, considered of the year. But this was definitely their best win, I'd say, over the Newcastle Knights. And even though it was a consistent season, I have to argue that it was also a successful one. Now, I just want to say that I never can get a read on the North Queensland Cowboys, but Todd Payten was absolutely fantastic for the New Zealand Warriors in 2020. So I am really looking forward to and curious as to what North Queensland Cowboys can potentially achieve under this great coach. They lost the Stephen Kearney to the Warriors this year, but Todd Payten really did turn their season around. As I said, I wasn't expecting much from this club, but they fired, and I arguably think that he was a key part of this. He was motivational, inspiring all year for this team. So, 2021, can the Warriors make finals? Some big signings in the off-season. Ewan Aitken from the St. George Illawarra Dragons, a centre who really came back into form. A bench from Parramatta, Kane Evans, big front rower, runs hard. Massive signing. This could be the signing of the year, potentially. Adam Fanua-Blake from the Manly Sea Eagles. Sean O'Sullivan has got potential from the Brisbane Broncos. They lose their loaned players. Adam Blair and Gerard Beale retire. They lose Blake Green to the Newcastle Knights. They've re-signed young gun, who I haven't spoken about much in this video, but Eli Katoa was huge for them this season. Eli Katoa was arguably one of the best players in the league. I'm going to really keep my eye on him, and having him re-signed is absolutely huge. They've re-signed Peter Hiku for the season. Jazz Tavaga, Leeson Armour, Adam Pompey and Tohu Harris are all off contract. But it's going to be really interesting for this side, and I'm not too sure. Their draw is pretty tough. I'll have a look now. So big changes in 2021. Nathan Brown is going to coach this side. Now they're building nicely. I mentioned their signings, and I think that even though he didn't coach for the full year, Nathan Brown at Newcastle had recruited really, really well. They weren't performing, but the recruitment was good. And if the Warriors can do that, it'll be huge. They've also got Phil Gould, who built with the Panthers. It didn't work out for experience on the field, but built a good team. As for their specific draw, they play the Knights twice, the Raiders twice, Manly, the Storm, and the Sharks, teams that are expected to make the 8. Now they play the Roosters, Eels, Panthers, Rabbitohs once, and then Bulldogs and Broncos, but you don't expect them to make the 8. So, look, it is a tough draw. It's kind of divided. I still can't get a complete read on them for the 2021 season, but what I have enjoyed is making this video. Make sure you do like and subscribe to the channel. I do post as regularly as I can, and when the NRL season's on, I pretty much post all the time. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you let me know where you think the New Zealand Warriors will end up in 2021, and drop a thank you for these guys because they've been huge.